The Native American warriors formed along a very sharp bend of the Apalachicola River. It was almost a 90-degree bend. And the construction of the Jim Woodruff Dam just upstream has changed the channel somewhat here, or changed the look of the river somewhat here at Chattahoochee, and the bend has shifted south from where it was in 1817, from old aerial photographs even from the 1930s, and then from maps from the 1800s. We know that bend, the point of that bend was originally at right where River Landing Park is at Chattahoochee today. And so the warriors formed along the two angles of the bend. And what they did was wait until the boat came into the bend. The current and the wind caught the boat. The river was running high, and it pushed the boat up against the shore. And as it did, they opened fire on it from both of the sides of that angle, and caught Lieutenant Scott and his men in a crossfire. Right, well, what you had happen next after the able-bodied member shot down was the boat was pushed up against the bank like this. And it was close enough, and a keel boat draws very little water. In fact, this boat they were on probably only drew about a foot of water, so the wind and the current, especially without the men rowing and no one controlling the tiller, it pushed the boat right into the bank. The warriors stormed down this bank that you see right here, and up over the sides of the boat, and they basically killed everyone that was on the boat, with one exception. Her name was Elizabeth Stewart. She was a young woman who was married to a soldier, and she had been knocked unconscious, and she was saved by one of the warriors.
So our first component is going to be a metal detector survey, where we're walking up and down the riverbanks and systematically checking for the presence of metal. We will record these positive hits with the metal detector and map them all, and then sample them, looking specifically for evidence of munitions and things like this that may have been a result of the Scott battle.
This war started because under the Treaty of Fort Jackson, which ended the Creek War of 1813-1814, the United States laid claim to 20 million acres of land that bordered, what was then Spanish Florida. It included all of South Georgia and all of what today we know as South Alabama. That's a lot of land. And unfortunately for them, many of the people living on these lands that we claimed under this treaty hadn't had anything to do with the Creek War, hadn't had anything to do with the Treaty of Fort Jackson. And suddenly here are U.S. soldiers telling them, you have to leave your homes, you have to leave your town, you have to go away because this is now our land. And of course the chief of Foultown, Neil Mothla, had said, I didn't sign that treaty, I didn't have anything to do with that, this is my land and I'm staying. So the United States, in the dark of night, sent soldiers to surround this town. They were going to take these people as hostages and hold them as hostages until all the others agreed to leave. That's legalized kidnapping. What they were trying to do was to surround this village in the middle of the night, to take all of these people as hostages and to hold them as hostages until the other groups in the region agreed to leave and give up this land that the United States now claimed. That was a rough situation, and if you were a resident of Foultown and soldiers came and surrounded your town in the middle of the night, you were pretty irate about it. And so all of these Native American groups along these borderlands were furious with the United States Army. So they attacked Lieutenant Scott's party. They wipe out this party that is on a boat coming up the river. That then infuriates the United States, which says, these people have attacked our boat. They've killed women and children. Well, the United States had done the same thing at Foultown, but you now had each side angry with the other, and that was just a real calamity.
Well, it's a wonderful site because you have a confluence of very interesting historical and archaeological narratives coming together. It's not often that you have a pre-contact archaeological site with at least 7 mounds that we know was an incredibly important site prior to the arrival of Europeans, and then at the same time a very historically significant site occurring directly on top of this. And historically significant, I'm referring specifically to the Scott battle, which was the first Native American victory in the Seminole Wars. And and it happened right where we're standing.